Time now for Homeschooled as we welcome in Sal Licata. And Sal, let's start with the nightcap. And during the offseason, I learned two things about you. You were really high on Marcus Stroman, not so high on Brandon Nimmo. So let's start with Stroman. What's been the most impressive part to you of his first two starts this season?
He just looks in command, Eamon. You clearly know he's a confident player. Everything that he said, he kind of put the target on his back going out there, talking a big game preseason leading up to the season. And I just felt like Stroman was primed to have a big year. He's in a walk year. He's never really had a full chance here with the Mets. Obviously, he got traded, and in that season, he wasn't his best self, and then he opted out last year. And I feel like fans were overly critical of him for really no reason. So I thought he was primed to have a big year. Look, he keeps the ball down. He's got excellent control. He's not walking anybody. Lets the offense put the ball in play and lets his defense behind him go make plays. So I think Stroman, with his command of pitches, he's got excellent movement, keeping it down in the strike zone. Those are reasons why he's been successful early on through the two starts. You just love to see. And look, he's a terrific athlete as well out there, fields his position well. Marcus Stroman has been terrific through his first two starts.
Obviously, a great way to start after having so much discussion about him in the offseason. All right, now to Nimmo. Speaking of offseason discussion, are you ready to believe in him, Sal, after wanting George Springer all winter long?
Well, look, there's a big difference between Brandon Nimmo and George Springer. And you could talk about the on-base percentage with Nimmo. And he's been a great offensive player. Even when I was criticizing him, we knew what he could be as an offensive player. But you need to see more of what you saw in Game 2. Swing the bat. I don't want to see him up there looking for walks all the time. You heard Todd talking about in the postgame. Swing the bat, because you're going to need hits occasionally. That's what Nimmo's doing. The real critique from him is that he's not a center fielder. He's not a good defensive center fielder, so that's always been my issue. And I think George Springer is a better player than Brandon Nimmo. I don't want to rehash that because Nimmo's been terrific right now. If he puts up those offensive numbers and can continue that from start to finish of a year, then maybe you could live with a subpar defense in center field. But he's got a long way to go to prove that. Again, though, he reminds me offensively of a guy who I used to love back in 1999. That would be John Olerud, an on-base machine and a guy who would get big hits. Nimmo's got to swing the bat more. Game 2 was a good sign of that, driving in some runs with a few hits.
Wow, that is a lofty standard there, John Olerud. All right, Sal, let's go back to Game 1. The Mets took exception to Jose Alvarado going inside on Michael Conforto with back-to-back pitches. Do you think there's going to be any carryover between these two teams from that?
No, I think the Mets, certainly this series, I think the Mets will let it go. It's a long season. They're going to see the Phillies again. I don't think there's any doubt that that was intentional, and it's not because they're trying to get payback for the Marlins. Alvarado was saying, if you're going to lean over the plate, and we know that you do, they all saw the clip on social media of Conforto leaning in with his elbow, I'm going to throw it up and in. He did it once. I thought it was a purpose pitch. He did it again, and he drilled him. So there's no question that Alvarado was sending a message to Michael Conforto. From the Mets' perspective, you have to hope that it wakes Conforto up. Forget about trying to retaliate. Wake that lineup up. In particular, wake up Michael Conforto. And I do think it did. I thought Conforto, looked good in his next at-bat. Solid here. So, Conforto's going to get going at some point. He's a good offensive player. Maybe that'll be the launching point for him, a little wake-up call.